The Green Sheet is a financial publication of the MWRA Advisory Board. This month's installment swiftly covers 120 years of the Metropolitan Waterworks system through multiple agencies, with a focus on the methodology of entrance fees, which are a mechanism for the recovery of capital investments. Starting with the Acts of 1895, the towns in orange represent the original communities that fell within a 10-mile radius of the State House, allowing them to join the Metropolitan Water District, or MWD, as well as a few towns located in close proximity to the original water sources of the system. Following the MWD was the Metropolitan District Commission, or MDC, which helped usher in the Quabbin Reservoir, adding 412 billion gallons of water in 1946. With the new reservoir and infrastructure, the Chicopee Valley communities were added, and the Quabbin Tunnel and Holtman Aqueduct also allowed the MDC to extend the radius to 15 miles, bringing in 15 new communities between 1946 and 1957, shown in light green. Because of the influx of towns and the extended radius, this is the time in which it became standard practice for new water customers to pay the costs associated with physically connecting to the system and introduce the concept of entrance fees. As an example of connection costs, Needham paid costs such as labor and materials necessary to bring water from existing MDC communities like Newton into the town, but connection costs simply ensure that existing communities aren't forced to pay for a new customer's costs. They don't account for the money laid out by existing communities for costly capital improvements. So in the 1960s, the MDC also standardized the practice of allocating a portion of capital costs to new communities. Any new water customer that wanted to benefit from the huge capital costs associated with the Quabbin and the Holtman would not only need to pay for their connection costs, but also an entrance fee. Weston and Wellesley, Woburn, Lynn, and Canton all joined the system between 1963 and 1982, paying entrance fees set forth by the MDC, and then in 1985, legislation established the MWRA, which assumed responsibility for the delivery and distribution of water to 46 communities in the system at that time. Setting the MWRA apart from the MDC was the ability to sell bonds and raise revenue to make the capital improvements necessary for a more modern waterworks system. In blue are communities that joined the system after the authority was created, with Stoughton in 2002 and Dedham Westwood in 2005. These communities paid based on their usage, a calculation that will be explained shortly. Also joining the authority was Bedford in 1993, Reading in 2007, and most recently Wilmington in 2009. To summarize the 120 years just discussed, the original communities in orange lived through the development of the system, and then with the Quabbin, the MDC allowed new communities to join as long as they paid to physically connect to the system, while also introducing entry fees as early as 1946, with Winchester, Cambridge, Needham, Wakefield, and Peabody all paying during this time. Finally, because of growing capital costs, entrance fees became standard practice to cover a new water customer's fair share of those costs, and most recently in blue, the MWRA has carried on the practice of charging an entrance fee to communities that wish to enter the system, as the MWRA has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in updating an aging system to ensure its sustainability. Moving now to the methodology of entrance fees, first we'll look at why they exist, using Quincy as an example. The City of Quincy pays water rate assessments to the MWRA every year based on water usage, which covers their portion of the MWRA's budget and capital financing costs. In the last 15 years, the City of Quincy has paid $112 million to the authority in water assessments. Capital financing costs were 52.5% of total water system expenditures during that 15-year period, meaning that the City of Quincy and its residents paid $59 million towards capital improvements to the waterworks system in the past 15 years. With this in mind, entrance fees take into account the capital outlay of MWRA communities by charging a portion of the waterworks system net asset value, or NAV, to new communities. The NAV is calculated by taking the gross assets less the debt associated with those assets, which equals $967 million, calculated each year and independently audited. This is broken down by water usage of each community, with 25% of the NAV applied to peak use and 75% to average use. The calculation works as follows. Withdrawals on the most recent 5-year average of the total system are compared to an applicant. As an example, we'll say the applicant uses 1 MGD, meaning 1 million gallons per day. The new customer's percentage of the total is multiplied by 75% of the NAV, which is $3.6 million. Similarly, the 6-month peak for all MWRA customers is compared to the new client, and that ratio is multiplied by 25% of the NAV, which is $1.2 million. Together, these give us the final entrance fee of $4.8 million for a new customer using 1 million gallons per day. Entrance fees today reflect major work done in the past 25 years to make the MWRA waterworks system one of the best in the country. This work includes the flagship facility, the John J. Carroll Water Treatment Plant, which has treated all of metropolitan Boston's water supply since July 2005. Also of great importance is the Metro West Tunnel, which provides crucial redundancy to the transmission system and went online in 2003. Together, these two examples account for over $1 billion of recent capital spending. Entrance fees are needed to ensure that new communities looking to benefit from these substantial capital investments and all other capital improvements pay their fair share of those costs, and recognize that over the past 50 years, all waterworks customers to join the system have not only paid to physically connect to the system, but have also paid an entrance fee toward the capital costs for which existing communities have been paying. That was 120 years in a nutshell. For any specific questions or to get greater detail, please visit our website or contact us by email. Finally, special thanks are due to Authority staff for providing maps and historical data needed for this installment of the Green Sheet.